Welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at Flask in Python. And if you don't know what it is, then you probably think Flask is some kind of chemical software, but it's not. Flask is a way of creating web applications using Python. You can see Flask is a lightweight WSGI, which means Web Server Gateway Interface, web application framework. And you see it's designed to get started quickly and easily, but it can scale, which is one of the reasons that it's become very popular and a very good thing to know. And you can see that it began as a very small project, but now anyone can add to it and they can add any features they want. And that's one of the great things about these kinds of projects. So the first thing we need to do if we're going to use Flask is install it. So we just run pip install Flask. And you see that I already have everything installed. So we'll start by importing Flask from Flask. We need to create an app, which is Flask name, and of course the name is main. So at the bottom we'll put if name is main app.run. And this would be a fairly pointless app that doesn't do anything. So what we'll do is we'll add a root, and we'll just call it slash, and this is our index, and we'll just say return hello world. And then we can run it, and you see it's running on this web address. So we go there, and you see it says hello world. It's interesting to note debug mode is off, so we're going to actually just turn it on, and if we then restart it, you'll kind of see why I've now turned it off. So you see I've made a few changes and it's refreshed the whole page for me. So we're going to add another page. We're going to have an app.root, it's going to be called people, and people currently is just going to return people. And then we're going to have another one called get person, and the root for this is slash people slash, and then we'll have a string names. This will be the name of the person, and we're just going to return the name, but we need to make sure that name is defined here so that it returns it. And if we run it, we can then go to people, and we see we get people, and people slash George, and we see we get George because it's returning this name here. So that's all working nicely, but it's fairly basic, so we might want to adjust it. So what we'll do is we'll import render template, and we'll change this name so that it says hello name, but we want to put it as a heading. So what we'll do is we'll create a folder called templates, and it has to be called templates, and we'll add a file called name.html. Now just print h1 name, and so here we'll edit this so that we return the render template, and the template will be called name.html, and you don't need to put the template slash. And we need to set the name equal to name, and so this will just print the name in bold. So maybe we put hello name. Run it again, and you see we now have a heading 1 saying hello George. And a nice trick here is we can just take the locals, which stands for the local variables, and of course the output looks no different, except that it's not worked because we need to refresh it. And there we go, and it looks no different. But that means if we now say that we have an H1 and we set the color to color, we can edit this and say that the color is equal to red. And refresh the page, and you see that it's now in red. And you know, we could copy this across so that instead of returning hello world, say that name is equal to world, and we can say that color is equal to something else. We'll make it blue. And if we go to, it says hello world in blue. So that's working very nicely. Next thing we're going to import is a redirect. So instead of returning people, we'll return a redirect, and we'll go to /people/George, and it will be a 302 redirect, which just means it's permanent. And you see if we go to /people, then it gets to here. One thing to be careful of is the different slashes. So here, if we just go to /people/ then it fails. And we might want to say here that if the name is not equal to George, then we return a 404 error, and that's called abort. And if we don't import it, we can then run it and see that we'll get an error when we go to /people/Python. And you see here it says abort is not defined, and it gives us all the traceback. So we can just change this so that we're importing abort as well. And we can refresh it, and you see we get a 404 error at the top. And, you know, you can make that something else, 403 error, and you see now it's giving us a different error. And of course you can customize error pages, but generally it's very easy to put in these special pages. So you can see Flask is extremely simple to use. We haven't done anything particularly impressive, and if you want it to look nice, you'd obviously have to write lots of HTML. But it's very powerful for applications, widely used, and a very easy way to set up simple projects where the design isn't too important, but being able to run code on a server in Python is. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. You'll use Flask in future projects, and I'll see you again, same time next week. Till then.